back on the Chad Hasty Show, News Talk 790 KFYO. Joining us right now, GOP political strategist, also co-founder of MustReadTexas.com, Matt Mackowiak. Matt, good morning. How are you?
Doing great, Chad. Good morning.
Thanks for coming on today. Appreciate it. The big news is national news today with Chuck Hagel being forced to step down. I know it's a news story that's out there, but what are you hearing on this, and how does the politics play in on this one, you think?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, clearly the president's strategy with ISIS is failing, and I think even the White House is beginning to admit that. And so it seems to me Hagel is sort of going to be the scapegoat for that, which I think is probably unfair. But, just from the reporting from the New York Times, which broke this story, it sounds like Hagel hasn't really gained traction in the administration. One of the really most outrageous things about the Obama administration is how they control all policymaking in the White House. Cabinet secretaries have very little control. I mean, they basically get to travel and do ribbon cuttings and manage their budget. But other than that, all policy is set in the White House. It's set at the Domestic Policy Council, the DPC, on domestic issues, and it's set at the National Security Council, the NSC, on the foreign policy and national security side. So Hagel probably had very little control. He sees the sequester cutting the defense budget significantly. He sees the president's foreign policy and national security policy, failing, from the deal with Iran to ISIS to other parts of the world. It could be that he was being a little bit too blunt or not enough of a team player behind the scenes, but either way, I think they wanted a scapegoat, and I think that's what they found.
You look at this, and you look at the past, Secretary of Defenses that the president has had, whether it's Gates, Panetta, they've all criticized the president on a lot of his strategy regarding the military, regarding ISIS. And it seems like with Hagel at times wanted to be more forceful with ISIS, but the president wasn't ready to go there. Is that how you've read it before?
I don't know. What's interesting is I think Hagel's a decorated war veteran, and he is naturally very negative about war, and extremely cautious about going to war, as most veterans are. And so I think he signed up to wind down and end the war in Afghanistan. And meanwhile, we've seen that what we're doing there is, in fact, expanding our role there. There was, I think, news in the last few days that the president did that very quietly behind the scenes, has expanded our role in Afghanistan. So I think he thought he was signing up for, entering into a calmer period in the world, reducing America's role in the world, and that's not what this job has become. And so I don't know if he felt like his voice didn't matter, or if the advice he was giving wasn't being taken, or if he just simply is the scapegoat. I suspect it's one of those three things. But this is an unusual transition, the way that this is happening in this way, and it will be fascinating to learn more about exactly what happened behind the scenes.
Visiting with Matt Mackowiak, GOP political strategist, co-founder of MustReadTexas.com. Have you been surprised at the coverage from those in the more liberal press over the president's executive actions on amnesty? There are a lot of papers and a lot of publications that have really taken him to task on this one. A little bit. I mean, I think, there is it seems to me the mainstream press has been, really hoping that they could somehow equate this executive order with previous executive orders. And they don't seem to be covering this story from a, sort of constitutional crisis standpoint. Sure.
Whereas, if you imagined, President Bush or the next Republican president using an executive order to end the inheritance tax, you would have impeachment hearings probably right away. So it seems that they're trying to compare this to Reagan and Bush 41, and not really asking the serious questions. And I think, to me, Chad, the most interesting thing about this is President Obama in his first term promised he would pass immigration in his first 100 days. For his first 13 months, he had the House, the Senate with 60 votes, and the White House, and he did absolutely nothing on immigration. He has essentially used the Hispanic community for their votes and for whatever served his purposes his entire political career. And now, in the end of the 6th year of his presidency, he's urgently issuing this executive order. After 6 years of doing absolutely nothing, and 1 month before Republicans take over the House and the United States Senate. So, to me, I just think this thing is outrageous, but I also think it's, from a political standpoint, pretty sad, because it really makes the Republicans play defense. It kind of gets in their head, changes their mindset. To the extent that we focus on his executive order, we're not focusing on our agenda of paring back Obamacare, of tax reform, of a lot of big issues that we want to deal with getting the economy going. And so the other thing is, when this executive order expires in 2 years, does anyone really think that these 4 or 5 million people are going to lose the benefits that they've had for the last 2 years?
Right.
Is anyone really going to take those benefits away? So he's put us into a box here, tactically, but again, I think the constitutional issues related to this are very serious, whether the media thinks that they are or not.
Visiting with Matt Mackowiak, do you think Republicans will take action on this, and what do you think Republican leadership will want to do?
Boy, it's a good question. They left town last week on recess without coalescing behind one strategy. I mean, Ted Cruz has a specific plan out there. He wants to use the power of the purse. He wants to shut down Obama's nominees. That's going to be tested. I mean, obviously, you have an Attorney General nominee that's out there. You're going to have a new Secretary of Defense nominee that's out there. My guess is that McConnell and the new Senate leadership probably won't subscribe to that strategy. It may be that they just ultimately try to sue the president. I mean, the state of Texas has already declared their intent to sue, with Governor-elect Greg Abbott going on Fox News yesterday morning and describing that effort. So I'll be honest with you, I don't know how they challenge this, and I don't believe there's any one plan that's been agreed to at this point. And, you're entering into the holidays. There's a lame duck period. They have to pass a government spending bill by December 11th. And then it's going to be the holidays. And so they're going to come back, and they're going to want to get on their agenda. They're going to want to pass the Keystone Pipeline. They're going to want to act quickly on the major issues they want to act on. They're going to want to repeal Obamacare and then get rid of some of the negative policies within Obamacare that they can pare back, which have bipartisan support. So I'm not sure. The base is going to clamor for some type of pushback on this. How that takes shape is unclear.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Matt, appreciate you giving us a shout today. What can people find on mustreadtexas.com?
Yeah, just beginning to update it from over the weekend. Ted Cruz was in New York last night, receiving an award from a pro-Israel group. There's an interesting story from Dallas Morning News on that. You also have an open state Senate seat that Glenn Hager is resigning from to become comptroller. That race is getting going as well. So all the news and opinion can be found at mustreadtexas.com.
All right. As always, Matt, thank you very much. Have a great Thanksgiving as well.
Hey, same to you. Thanks, Chad.
Have a good one. So Matt Mackowiak, you can follow him on Twitter at Matt Mackowiak.